Hello and welcome, everyone. Today's episode is a wonderful interview slash coffee chat that I had with the beautiful, amazing woman, Dina Lobo, who is a transformational coach, and she is also a trauma specialist. I have been honored to connect with her through a mastermind that both of us are in, and it was really lovely. We did this Instagram live where we were just talking about the power of emotions and bouncing ideas back and forth about how our emotions influence us, how they can either support us or get in the way of reaching our goals and our manifestations, how our emotions are a reflection of our past and our traumas and our belief systems, and how to approach our emotions in a new way so that we can really create the life that we desire to create on all levels of our being with true fulfillment. And so I'm really excited to share this chat that we had. I think you're absolutely going to love it. So without further ado, here is Dina and I talking about the power of emotions.
Hi, Natalie. Can you see me? Huh?
Yes. Hi, Dina. How are you this morning?
Really good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. It's so lovely to see you again.
Sure. Thank you for hosting this. Yes, I'm so happy to do this collaborative live today.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
So everyone, this is Dina. She's an amazing human being, so talented, does a lot of trauma work, which is so important for everyone on the planet, especially when you're trying to manifest the life of your dreams. We have traumas, we have a lot of things underlying that are affecting our vibrational frequency, that are affecting our emotions, our mindset, and how we approach life in the world. And so today we're just going to have a nice coffee chat about the power of emotions.
Yeah.
And just discuss the importance of doing that inner work and being aware of our emotions and how it so deeply affects every facet of our lives. And once you realize how much our emotions affect us, then you become more self-aware. It allows you to open your mind and start to reflect on moments in your life where you might catch yourself in an emotional upheaval that's actually triggering this whole slew of effects and results that you're getting in life, when maybe you didn't even realize it before, how much your emotions are affecting you. So, Dina, go ahead. Yeah. For my clients, you know who I am, Natalie Schlute. I guess I should introduce myself.
So thank you for a quick introduction.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dina Lobo, global transformational coach and a certified trauma specialist. And I'm really specialized in this topic, emotions, right? Really helping people with emotional and mental blocks. And this is such a great combination, me and Natalie coming together, because this is such a foundation to anything really, just like how Natalie explained. Because when you have these trapped emotions, or when you don't understand why do you have these emotions, or you have these triggers, because triggers can be positive, which is great, or it could be negative. And when you have those, you don't start feeling safe in your own skin, right? And this is what we're talking about, because when you really are taking responsibility to understand your emotions, you bring in that curiosity. You're more open now. You're more receptive versus you just go hot and cold, or you shut down, or you numb yourself. You just know it is so icky versus okay, I'm giving myself to embrace that. So this is what we're talking about today. And this is, guys, from getting out of the limitations, or the negative thought loop that keeps running in your head, or to unlock confidence, or really anything in your life. The first thing is self-awareness through understanding your emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when we talk about emotions, it really does start with self-awareness, of that reflection of just noticing how you show up throughout the day, what's going on in your body. Do you have I don't know, a checklist or a framework of how you help people become more aware other than just purely observation? Because I always just say, watch your emotions, notice how you're thinking, how you're feeling, what your energy is and how you're showing up. But maybe you have some insights on how to recognize patterns in ourselves.
I don't believe in checklists or framework. Framework is great, but I think we're so different in terms of our own experiences, because, for example, a conversation with my partner, over the years, I have worked through so much in understanding our differences and all of that. To this where I'm more responsive versus reactive, but maybe in other area of my life, it could be because of the different experiences, meaning that with my extended family members, I've constantly worked on like, okay, Dina, why is this happening? Why do I react so much versus like giving myself that chance to now not compare or not judge, but really just give that chance to understand that person. So I think based on our individual experiences that we've been through and our childhood traumas or anything really where we've not really processed or given a chance to understand our attachments, because these attachments, again, the emotion is like a bigger umbrella, but under that you have attachments, you have unconscious fears, right? And those attachments insecure, can be disorganized, can be emotionally numbing, can be emotionally distancing. It goes in so much depth, but truly, when we take, all the pies in our life, the spiritual aspect, the relational aspect, when we think about it, like, as you and I, like we juggle different things throughout the day. So throughout the day, it just keeps changing. So now, right now, I might be in this greatest mindset. So I'm giving that chance for me to pause, for me to think, for me to be more curious. I'm in this great mindset, but maybe like, a few hours down the line, like I might not be so responsive, but I might react differently. So I think every individual is so different. So self-awareness is the main thing. So then next, how do I know? Like, how do I know that I'm not feeling? So because you're not in harmony. Because you don't have that inner peace. Because you're so quick to please someone and you roll this red carpet just to do something for someone else. So meaning you're trying to fit in. Meaning that you don't want to do that deeper work because it is shameful, and shame is such an intense emotion that we try to just distance ourselves from.
Yeah. And that reminds me of one of my clients that I was talking to recently about being afraid of confrontation and not wanting to deal with the hard conversations, or being afraid of other people's responses. Like when we're talking about interpersonal skills, and this client tends to have tell little white lies or like bend the truth in a certain way just to appease the person. But then it doesn't actually help because now they're not confronting the real situation. And instead it's actually reflecting negatively on them, as if they're not in alignment. They're not honest. They're not trustworthy because they only tell half truths. They're not like completely lying about things. And they're things that don't even matter. That's the little teeny tiny things, and it comes from that unconscious fear of like, what emotion is really going on? What are you afraid of? And what's under the surface that needs to be healed? And where do you need to shift into? Like, what persona of you is more confident and has the courage to have even smaller conversations that aren't even necessarily challenging for the everyday person, but for that person may seem overwhelming or just emotionally exhausting to attempt to even do in the first place.
Yes. Oh gosh, that's so powerful. Just because what has possibly happened is they might have been rejected at some point in time. So this is a defense mechanism because not everybody knows this kind of tools to help ourselves through that. So the minute we have experienced certain pain because we couldn't be ourselves, meaning we couldn't speak, just be yourself, right? Just accept just the way you are. So the minute they've caused some certain pain in their life and they've not been able to really process through or heal through that pain, there are those trapped emotions, right?
Exactly.
Out life, when they are being confronted with similar situation, not exact people, maybe different things, but then again, like you just go back to the same pattern. Why? Because now for your subconscious mind, there is a pathway that is already established. There is already like a shortcut there that is available. And that is that pathway that lights up because there is a threshold to that, which is very familiar to me. This pain is very familiar to me. I don't know any other way to operate than just telling those white lies or just, numbing myself or just shutting down or just saying something to fit in. This is where we get into that negative, trigger, negative emotions. And then the next level is, what Abraham Hicks calls it as the negative vortex. So we don't want to get there.
Exactly. And And that's a big pattern that I see with a lot of clients in various forms of this feeling like they've been rejected at certain points in their life and maybe consistently for a long time. And so we build these patterns, we build these habits and ways of coping and ways of shifting out of alignment with how we're conversing with people, with how we're communicating, with how we're showing up. And all these are different ways of coping. The little white lies, the half truths, the people pleasing, right? Often when we're in a challenging situation, emotionally, we go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so understanding that these are all coping mechanisms, these are all patterns that we unconsciously learn because at one point, one or even multiple of these patterns allowed us to cope in the moment with challenging situations, usually from childhood, but it can be from any time in your life, really, anything that was traumatic enough or anything that stuck in your mind long enough that had a strong emotion attached to it, whether it was traumatic or not. That's all it takes to experience a trauma, is something that creates a strong emotion in your body in the moment. And then it becomes very hardwired into the brain and into the neurological system of how the mind works and how the patterns.
Failure, right? Yeah. It's just like, oh, I've lived into this. I've solidified my beliefs, because right now, when you're talking about that, that's connected to a belief that, oh, they didn't accept me. Oh, I've been rejected. Oh, I see myself as a failure. And then the next part to that is, now when I want to do something new, want to put myself out there, want to go start another relationship or, manifest something in my life, there is those unconscious fears, because those are tied to beliefs and we haven't really given a chance to heal through them. Then what is available is, again, the neurons that wire together, fire together, right? Like, that's just how it is. And you get the same outcome, the same realities, the same partnerships, the relationships, the jobs that seems good at the beginning. And then they just, reiterate the same beliefs that you believe. You don't trust in yourself, they don't trust in you.
Yeah. And I think this is where people get stuck with some of the stuff in the manifestation world too, because they're watching these videos online and maybe they don't have the whole picture of what it really means to shift your life and transform your life. And they think, oh, if I just do the affirmations and I just visualize, it's fine. But they don't understand that we have to do the inner work. We have to look at our patterns. We have to look at our subconscious programming. We have to look at our traumas, and we have to go through and then change on a deep level so that we are showing up differently. The only way to get a different reaction from life, from people, places, things, and manifestations is if we change. We have that inner transformation, because now when we show up differently, we get a different result. And that's really what this is all about. So now that we understand how emotions are affected and how they affect what we're experiencing in life and how we all have different coping mechanisms, what are some ways that you like to share and teach with people about how to start shifting that and actually transforming their emotional state and showing up more in the identity and the belief system and the person that they truly want to be for their transformation?
I'll just lead with an example for that, just what happened to me last week. So I was taking my daughter to the daycare, and I just had this B list, oh, Dina, I'm having this meeting today, just like how we have, certain things in my book. And I'm just like, okay, am I feeling right about it? Am I in a great mindset? Have I done my morning routine just to feel like, I am myself, crush it. I have that confidence. I feel good about this. It just feels so normal to me. There's a conviction and flow. And then I come back driving back to my house, and there is this, everything going on in my head. I'm already prepped for it. And this call just put me off. Like, I felt like my stomach was crunched. It's like, Dina, you have something coming up tomorrow. You haven't sent the video. You haven't really sent your bio for this. Blah, 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 blah. Just kind of put me in this self-doubt of, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? How did I miss this? Do I really want to do this? So, it was so uncomfortable. And I just did not want to proceed doing anything for that day. I took a break and I just surrendered, because I was getting into that negative trigger mode of shaming myself and doing all of that. And again, it's pattern, right? Now that I'm so aware of it, I gave myself this chance to feel that discomfort. So what did I do? I went for a walk. I surrendered. I said, God, please show me the one sign that I need to see right now that's going to help me move forward, in my life today, just now, so that I can be in the present moment. And the biggest sign I saw was slow on the road. And that taught me, Dina, you need to pause right now. Like your midpoint. It's about the journey, it's not always about the end point. It's like end point is good and all, but it's the journey, it's the learnings that you're missing right now. And so what did I do then? I just embraced that. I'm like, this is great sign. I just wanted to reflect and contemplate on that. I came back and I thought about it for a little time. And I realized that I had my walls, barriers, emotional barriers up high there. So I wasn't really giving a chance for the other party to understand me. And now I realize that I'm getting into that mode of that shaming, guilting, resentment versus, you know what? I'm accepting me. And that walk really helped. The clarity helped. The sign helped. Why? Because I surrendered. I trusted in my faith in the higher power. And then what did I do? I contacted them and I said, hey, this is what is going on. I lowered my barrier. I was vulnerable. I shared this. And that gave the other party the opportunity to really understand me. And that opened up so many things in my life, Natalie, different forward momentum, better understanding. And then I had there was a client prospect call. There was someone wanting to hire me as a speaker. Boom, 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 boom. Why? I shifted from those lower frequencies or lower triggers or emotions that actually throws me off, and it's no heart and brain coherence, no harmony, versus I'm normalizing that. I'm accepting myself. I do something to move my body, and then really get into this open curiosity level. And the next part was really becoming vulnerable and sharing. So the minute I was open, I shared my feelings. I was not there was no trapped energy around, saying something icky or something that is not in alignment to who I am. Everything opened up. So this was just an example, right? Maybe that worked for me. Maybe it does not work for others. But here's the framework, really, to normalize it, because you can't fight the bear. Can you? No. But really give a chance to understand your discomfort, sitting into that, surrendering, and not losing your faith into that is the first step.
Yeah. And I love the story you shared, because that was very similar to my journey years ago when I had been listening and reading and studying law of attraction for many years before I really fully understood it and applied it to my life. And there was one point where I realized I can spout out off everything. I can say it, I can rehash it, I can teach it, but I wasn't living it day to day. And when I realized that, this was maybe 6 years ago, I decided I'm going to spend a year and I'm just going to focus on completely embodying, managing my own emotions and showing up better every day. And the patterns that I saw sound similar to you, where we become hard on ourselves. I noticed this pattern of perfectionism in myself, where I had this pedestal of who I thought I was supposed to be and where I was supposed to be in my business, my career, my life. And I could never meet my own standards, like this unrealistic standard of who I thought I'm supposed to be right here, right now. So I never felt good enough. But it wasn't for anyone else. It's not like anyone else was putting me down or telling me I wasn't good enough. It was me. I had this unrealistic ideal of who I needed to be, and I was never, ever going to meet it. And once I realized that, the deep work became self-love. It became having unconditional patience for myself, unconditional kindness for myself, unconditional compassion for where I was any given moment of any given day. And that became the deep work. My first year of manifestation, of focusing daily, became a self-love practice, where whenever I started getting frustrated or upset that things weren't working out or happening as fast as I wanted them to be, whether it was my business, my personal life, my health, or anything else in my life, if things weren't in, the perfect way of what I expected it to be, I had to stop, and I had to first just reconnect my body and breathe. for me, deep belly breathing, starting to shift
Mm.
the pattern of our nervous system, because the way we breathe is a reflection of the hormones that are being released in our state of mind. When we go into stress mode, we breathe shallow through the chest. And so that was my pattern, is this shallow breathing pattern. So starting by actually breathing deep into the belly and just calming my body and coming, into myself. And sometimes I needed to go for a walk. I needed to go work out. I needed to get off the computer and do a little bit of stretching or put on some music and dance around, because that can release a lot of that tension and energy in the body. But what it came down to was unconditional love and acceptance for who I am and who I was in the moment. And that's the daily practice of loving yourself and being okay with where you are. It's okay to be where you are and accept it, but then also have big goals for the future and want to be moving towards other things. But we can't shame and guilt ourselves for not being this perfect person right here and right now, because that's not going to get us anywhere. It's great to have high standards and big visions and move towards them, but we also have to love ourselves in the here and now and be vulnerable and compassionate enough to be able to express ourselves. And it sounds like, you and I, we've had very similar journeys with how we've learned how to manage our emotions through this process of self-love and transparency and honesty with ourselves, with others. We can't be honest with others about how we're thinking and feeling if we don't know for ourselves how we're thinking and feeling. So spending that time with us first and kind of getting grounded and coming back to a place of faith in who we are and in our path and, in a higher source that's guiding us is so important in order to reach those bigger goals and to have more balance in life too.
Yeah, so good. I feel like just adding on to that a little bit is just giving ourselves to being perfect, right, Natalie? It's okay.
Exactly.
It's messy. It's okay to be like, this is so great. Like, we're just coming for, it wasn't like a planned topic, but see how this flow is. It's just because we love what we do and it's okay. But we're so true and aligned to what we're speaking, and this is how people resonate with us because we share our real time experiences. And then going back to what you shared about our life journey and experiences, I did not accept for the longest time all of those experiences. I was pretty shameful to talk, or I felt like, oh my gosh, I was put through this and it was triggering me about the unworthiness factor or that I failed and all of those, in depths of those emotions that I felt. And what I realized was change is very personal to me. It's very personal to our journey and to me. And it is not that people will understand, even our loved ones sometimes will not understand, why did I lose, or why did I leave that 9 to 5 job to do something that I absolutely love, right? Well, or they would not understand, why do I speak a different way, think a different way, do things differently, because they've noticed you doing something different before. So change, remember, is very personal to people. Like, I have a lot of clients telling me, Dina, I don't have that support from my loved ones. I have this deepest desire, and this is where it just throws me off. Like, because and I like go into that negative mode of thinking, oh, am I going to fail myself, fail my loved ones? What's going to happen? So this is when I tell them, like, change is so personal. For the longest time, I felt like I have to fix others and they have to meet me right now with my change. No, they'll meet me when the time is right for them. It's not about fixing anyone, and it's not that we have a hole in our head. With our journeys as we evolve, right? I have pivoted from being a software engineer to financial manager to now doing absolutely what I love, like a global transformational coach. But my path has been nothing short of saying least like an extraordinary path, and I wouldn't change a thing from in my life again, because those were all the lessons that I had to learn. And so change, so important, embodying change with manifestation, with understanding your emotions, because you keep evolving with that self-awareness piece every single day as you do that work. And it's very important to you.
Yeah. And one beautiful thing that I love you touched on is having acceptance for other people and not trying to change them. We can support the people in our life. We can encourage them. We can educate them if they're open and you ask permission and they're ready to hear and learn, some of these concepts and hear your stories. But we cannot change other people. And that's, one thing that I see is a lot of times people are unaccepting of themselves because they feel like they're not good enough, but then they also don't think anyone else is good enough in their life. And they start beating up on other people or judging other people for what they've gone through. But the thing is, we don't know why other people do what they do. Even the people that do horrific things in the world, killing, murder, things, rape and, gang related things, you don't necessarily, you can judge them all you want, but unless you've walked in their shoes to understand where they've come from and the life that they had and what led them to doing what they did, don't judge them.
Yeah.
They're human beings too. They have their own challenges. They had a completely different upbringing, a completely different realm of people that they were around and what they've learned and their perception of the world based off of their life experience. They may not have had the loving family that you had. They may not have been in an environment where they were told they can be anything and do anything. They may not have learned how to communicate well. And so when you interact with these people or judge these people, that is also reflecting negatively on you. You're the one holding that judgment. You're the one holding that negative vibration and frequency in your own body and in your own emotions, but you're also not coming from a place of unconditional compassion for them. And so having unconditional love, compassion, and kindness is really important, not only for ourselves, but for other people. And just know that every person on this planet is doing their best. They are always doing their best with what they have and who they are in that moment. And you have to honor that their journey is completely different from yours. Every person's journey on this planet is completely different. And the sooner you can come to that acceptance and that knowledge and that wisdom and actually embody and live that, that is a game changer. When we stop judging and holding resentment towards others, that's a big one to lighten your load.
Yeah, because think about it, and that might come from your loved ones. And no joke, often comes from people whom you love the most because you're in a certain way and now you want to do something different. It's like they, like you said, I mean, it's their own experiences and perhaps limitations of not, having the best outcomes in their lives or, the situations that actually help them. And then when they see those changes, they have the confrontation, right? So when we accept that part of others, we now have that piece of, okay, going from intolerance to understanding to forgiveness, and then there's that unity. Because now we can embrace the difference, and that is okay. When we do that, we've not just accepted ourselves with all of the experiences that we've been through. That is the game changer in anyone's lives, just like you explained. And that speeds up manifestation, because now you've healed through those emotions, you've healed through those trauma, and it's not an easy work or doesn't happen weeks. I mean, sometimes it takes a lot of time because a lot of people have been through a lot of things. And when we're talking about trauma, not necessarily the big things, it's small things accumulating over time is also a trauma. Like a lot of people in my world are like, I don't have that trauma, Dina. I mean, we all do. We all have challenges that we cannot control, right? And power of emotions, Natalie, like we can talk about it all day long. So.
I agree. Yeah, it's such a powerful conversation because it really affects every facet of our lives, how we feel and think about ourselves, about others, and even the beliefs and perceptions we have about the world and reality and God. These are all, we have different relationships and different emotional attachments and patterns and belief systems associated with every facet of our life. You can take anything, food, for example, how you feel about technology, how you feel about cars, how you feel about, anything in your life, any relationship, because everything is a relationship. Your relationship with money, right? Your relationship with your own health. There's so many different facets of belief systems, and just being aware of how you emotionally connect to all these various things. It takes time. It's a practice of getting in the habit of being aware of how your emotions are affected and what your belief systems are. But over time, once you get into the habit of doing this work, of being aware of your emotional state and then reflecting and being with it and allowing yourself to shift and allowing yourself to question your own emotions, question your own belief system so that you evolve. Yeah. That's really where the power is.
Like, I love to do a check-in with simple questions. Okay, am I in alignment? Like, what is going on right now? I know my mind is saying one thing, but my heart is not in alignment to what my mind is saying right now, because that is fear. That is not the space of love. It is coming from the space of, wanting to shame someone, wanting to blame someone, wanting to guilt someone again, because I am feeling that. When I am feeling that, the tendency of human beings is normally I want the other person to feel that, because this is how we reflect, this is how we do it. So the minute you can catch yourself and say that, okay, this is how I feel. What do I need right now in my moment, like in my life? And that is, for the most part, it is just accepting you. It's just accepting you, giving yourself that permission to be okay with where you are. And like you said, really, like, just constantly checking in, asking questions, and processing that and healing through that is such a key. And this is why you need coaches, to closely work with you, because it's a non-judgmental zone. It's so open-minded. You have the tools to support yourself through all of these things, because it could be one area of your life, Natalie, like we talked about, but then it starts bleeding into different areas. So your relational aspect will bleed into spiritual to finances, like all the areas of your life. So it could start from one thing, but this is how, the circle of life works.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned having a coach, because having a coach, we can't see our own blind spots.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the education and understanding like we do to like actually assess each of these facets of our lives, there are so many unconscious patterns. And this is not a one and done thing. This is kind of a lifetime journey that we're all experiencing, even those of us that are coaches, right? Like we do this work. And we got into this work because we were doing it and we felt the transformation, and it completely transformed our lives. And we want to help others doing that, because we have that knowledge, that experience, that wisdom, the training, and so forth, to actually be able to pull things out of people and give them that light bulb moment of like, OMG, I didn't know I was doing that. Thanks for pointing that out. Now I can reflect on this and heal this and create that shift in my vibration to then attract whatever it is I want and have that transformation.
Yeah, so good. So good. So why don't we share like maybe one tip that, even when I share this with my community, what could be one tip for people in my community, especially women there? So they want, if they feel like, okay, let me think about the common thing that I hear. Dina, I have this desire that seems quite far-fetched, but I know that right now I feel like it is okay because this pain is quite manageable to me. But I know it's just eating me inside out. Like I know this is not giving me that true joy and inner peace, but I'm okay. It seems like it's okay.
So your question is,
so what are some of the tips for people to then start embracing those big desires that seem quite far-fetched?
Okay, so the far, okay, I wasn't sure if you were asking about the big far-fetched desires or the pain of being not having.
So they have the desire, but they are also in that pain of the life is okay. I was just painting that situation to you. So they are currently feeling like they have those desires far-fetched, but they're okay. Life is going on. They have the routine because this is manageable to them. This is very familiar, but also they can not sleep in the night. They have, their hands are sweaty. Sometimes they can't think. They have these nerves that's going on, nervous feeling, and, all panic attacks, because they just know that this is not them. There is more to life.
Got it. And this is really common. This is so common because most people live from an unconscious program of what is here and now. It's comfortable. And therefore the subconscious mind, that survival portion of our brain, thinks that, well, at least I know what's coming. It may be uncomfortable, but I know what my everyday looks like, and I know how to react and respond and manage it. So it's safe, even though it doesn't feel good at all. People are having the panic attacks, the PTSD, the fear, and the anxiety. All of that is happening, but at least it's familiar. So the difference is, when you want to create a new life for yourself, you have to get leverage. Get leverage on what are the consequences if I don't change, if I don't do anything different. Actually build up both the negative and the positive leverage. So on the negative side, where am I going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, if I don't change what's going on, if I don't address my traumas, if I don't address my anxiety, if I don't address my marriage, my career, how I'm communicating with my kids and my family, or, anything like that. Whatever these things are that look at what you're avoiding. Whatever you're avoiding is going to be probably what you need to do the most work on and address and get comfortable being uncomfortable. But having that leverage list of the consequences suddenly puts that fire under your ass a little bit of like, oh, okay, now I need to do that. And not just doing it once. You need to write that list and you need to look at it daily. You need to pull that list out over and over again, because again, the subconscious mind, what it does is it just resets. It goes back to normal. You have your list. I love that. Perfect.
Because this is not like, how can I go from A to C? If I know that, that's certainty, like you're saying, right? Then it is not a big plan, not a big goal that seems quite far-fetched, that kind of want me to be like throwing up but still excited about it. That is all that I'm talking about. So thank you. That was very good.
Yeah.
Like, doing those lists of like, what do I avoid the most? How can I put myself out there, but give myself the permission to be imperfect at the same time, and be open about it, just kind of be gentle at the same time, not to be super critical, but also like, okay, what will change? Nothing's going to change 5 years from now. A year from now, nothing's going to change. So
yeah, exactly. And having your positive leverage list too. If I do take these actions, if I do heal these areas of my life, if I do take those scary steps forward to reaching for my dreams, that future that I can see and I know is possible for me. And some people, they can't see, but they feel it. They know that they want to feel differently. Not all of us are visually inclined. So not everyone gets visions. Some people have more of a feeling. They're like, I just know I don't feel good. I know I'm having anxiety. I know I'm uncomfortable with my life and I just want to feel better. So again, it's the same process, but then having leverage, what would it look like, the positive leverage? Where, if I do work on these things, if I do heal these things, if I do take the scary actions and move forward, where could I be in a year, 5 years, 10 years? What could my life look like? And what are the possibilities, and that's really important, because then now you have something, not only the negative pushing you to take the action, but the positive. And then again, you have to have compassion and patience for yourself as you take these new actions. Get really comfortable with being uncomfortable, because eventually when you do the uncomfortable things, you do it 2 times, 3 times, you might feel less uncomfortable the second or third time. Sometimes it's the 5th or 10th time where you feel less uncomfortable, but you get less uncomfortable because you're taking the uncomfortable action. And then that becomes your new normal. That becomes your baseline of, oh, I've done this before. I can totally handle this. And now you've transformed. That's like one transformation that you're experiencing.
I love that.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. Because, for example, like going live, like this collaborative lives, when I started doing them, this wasn't like this. Like I would prepare, I would be like, okay, these are the things. But now we're like, okay, we'll just talk on one topic, and then it just flows, because it just comes through us, right? Because now we have things, we've done it multiple times, have failed, it's okay. But now it's just like so real and authentic. And this is where, again, giving ourselves permission to fail. Thank you. That was so beautiful.
You're welcome. Do you have any recommendations or things in the same scenario that you recommend for clients?
Yeah. So I think you just beautifully said about the positives and the negatives. I think for myself, I would just add one more thing. Like, it's just so hard to balance the uncertainty with certainty. Just knowing that piece, because for me, like, for example, I want to do something new in my business, and there is all of the fears that come in. Like, is it okay? Are you okay to spend so much? Where is this leading to? What? But then I talk about, okay, can I list all of those experiences where I took all of the risks? That reminds me, oh my gosh, 7 years ago, if I wouldn't come with my dad to Canada, I wouldn't have met my partner now, who's my husband. We wouldn't have this beautiful house, the family that I always wanted to have, my beautiful daughter. What are the other times that so many times that I've taken risks? When I just started my business 3 years ago, I invested in a business coach that was always like, okay, where's the money coming from? Because I was also going on a mat leave that time, right? But I trusted, I surrendered. And that first launch that gave me like 3 times back the ROI. Again, why I took that leap of faith? I took those risks in my life. I had this calling of like wanting to be a support, like wanted to support this kid in another country with education and supporting their family members. I love giving back to the community. I had all of the fears, but I had this strong voice, reach out, reach out, reach out. And it just inspires me so much, like how universe conspires with you, putting all of those components. Once you have that, that conviction, you have that intention, you put it out there, you don't need to know the how. So now that when I look at all of these experiences I have had in my life, when I've had health struggles, Natalie, I've told you this, becoming a mom was such a challenge. I had like multiple surgeries and inflammation, and my doctor said I couldn't have a baby because every single month I had to go to the ER. Now looking at her, I didn't take the no to her word. We celebrated her third birthday last month. Like when I look at all of the things and I can stack them up, that gives me a joy. I'm like, I've done it. I'm still, I'm still okay.
Yeah.
I will make it on the other side. So stack all of the things that you have taken risk from and you've felt like, wow, that was a great accomplishment in my life. That I would add that to the list.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. I mean, it comes down to having faith and reaffirming, that's one thing that I also recommend to clients too sometimes is we can make our wish list of the things we want to manifest and create affirmations for those things. But if we don't reflect on how far we've come, sometimes we're just looking at the gap of where we are now to where we want to be in the future instead of looking at where I am now and wow, I've transformed a lot in the last year, the last 5 years, the last 10 years. Like look at who I've become and to celebrate and be excited about the potential for the future. Because when you look at how far you've come, you're like, wow, I can do a lot more. And having that faith in yourself, in a higher power that's guiding you and your future will help give you the faith and the courage, right? The courage to take the next steps, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes. I love that. And it was such a lesson to me. Like I always was so critical. Dina, I want to know exact steps because again, like you spoke, like the certain steps, because it's familiar. I don't want to put myself into that more where I'll be rejected because of other rejections in the past or, the failures in the past. Like this is how we're so hardwired that I want to know exactly what's the income coming in. I want to know exactly how many clients I want to, have for this particular month. When we put that, it's coming from the lack mindset. So we cannot evolve. Really, we cannot evolve. We cannot manifest. We cannot understand our emotions. We cannot heal through them. But really, just giving ourselves permission to forget the how, but let me stay with this intention. Let it come from love. You just need to know the why. Why are you doing this? And you need to have like, anything would have happened, you would have failed, but how can you get back up, right? So your why needs to be really, really, really so strong. So if you're looking to impact your loved ones, your life, to have freedom, start accepting you first. That would be my message.
Yes. I love that. Perfect. That kind of rounds about back to the beginning of the whole self-love we've been talking about, which is absolutely perfect. The power of our emotions is learning how to love ourselves and have that compassion, which is beautiful. Oh, well, thank you so much, Dina. This has been such a lovely talk. I feel like both of our audiences have gotten so much out of that, of everything we brought up. We've covered so many beautiful facets of how our emotions affect us and control our lives in a really powerful way.
Yeah. I think to just wrap up, I think we did what is the power of emotions? How do we, what are the different facets of life? How can it be trapped? And then how do you accept? To now, what are the steps to shift them? And finally accepted. So beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Natalie, for this wonderful conversation. One last thing is, what can we offer to people who have like resonated with this? And, when I share this with my community and when you share this, I do have a wonderful event that is coming up for people who is watching this and want to kind of know more about, this emotional tools to help them support their roadblocks. I have a 5-day event coming up on the 11th of July. Please go follow me. I will be posting all of the details on my stories today. The link is in the bio. Please go sign up, and I would love to have you on my 5-day free event. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. I love that. For anyone who wants to get closer to my work, I think the freebie that would work best to share with everyone is my empath freebie. So I do have an empath survival guide for those of us who are dealing with our emotions and how to show up and the steps that we can take to start becoming more self-aware of our emotions, managing our emotions, and transforming how we interact with people and the things in our life and in our world, because that is the foundation of how we experience things. So anyone, feel free to DM me.
I will be
empath.
I will be right away.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll send that. And then you can jump on to my email list and get notified when I have new podcast episodes, YouTube episodes, whether I'm doing summits, master classes, and things like that. My email list is really the best way to get to know and, be up to date with everything, because sometimes, we miss things on social media. Every once in a while, I won't post on social media, but I'll send things out to my email list and all of that. So that's really the best way to connect with me and my work as well. So yeah, thank you, Dina.
Yeah, thank you. And I will share that link with you as well, Natalie, if you can share that. And I can share your guide as well. So yeah.
Yes, I will make sure I put that in the show notes here.
Yeah. Save this and send it over to me. But thank you everyone for joining us. It was such a great conversation. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Dina. Yeah, we should definitely do this again. This was so fun. I loved it.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
If you love my content and everything manifestation, be sure to check out all the playlists that I have on my YouTube channel so you can binge watch to your heart's desire.